Phil's out in Chicago. So is Frank Klose from 97.3 ESPN.com. His Phillies mailbag is up right now at 97.3 ESPN.com. But we got a lot of Phil stuff we want to hit on, including your mailbag questions, and Frank will answer those. And these questions is, by the way, Real Muto and Wheeler are representing the Phillies in the All-Star game. No Segura, but let's bring Frank in as his Phillies mailbag is posted right now at 97.3 ESPN.com. Frank, what's going on, man?
Not much. Very hot out here in Chicago, too.
You are in Chicago. All right. How is the Windy City?
Hot. Otherwise, one of my favorite places to visit.
Yeah, Wrigley Field's amazing. It is such a great town out there. Let's start with a couple of things here. This weekend, by default, they had to go to Ranger Suarez. Do we feel that Ranger Suarez has taken over as the closer in this bullpen?
Well, last night it really seemed like the Phillies were going to go that direction before they ended up really exploding for all those runs. So I think that Joe Girardi is going to use Ranger Suarez in this role, at least for the foreseeable future. Let's face it, Hector Neris had that blow up where he blew all those saves within a short time span. So obviously he couldn't do it anymore. And then Jose Alvarado wasn't much better. And then, as we saw too, the guy that they signed for $6 million this offseason, Archie Bradley, looked a little shaky as well. So I think what the best thing the Phillies can do right now is to use Suarez because it keeps the guys before him in their accustomed roles. And, I think Suarez, he didn't do great every time with runners on base. The one quote unquote blown save he gets credit for. He inherited a couple runners, and he got his batters out, but he didn't get a couple of those batters the one time. Base runners out the one time. But I think for the most part, he's somebody who's very steady. He's somebody who doesn't panic. He just seems to take the ball and go about his business. And even though he did have that one blown save recently where he let those two inherited runners score. Remember, kind of his turning point was down in Miami when he inherited a bases-loaded, no-out situation from Spencer Howard and got the Phillies out of that with allowing just one run, and that ended up basically helping the Phillies take that victory. So, I think this is a good idea. I like his demeanor. I kind of compared him in the mailbag to a left-handed Jenmar Gomez, if you remember him. Not that they're the typical closer types that we think of when we think of a closer, but I just think that he just grabs the ball and goes about his business, and that's how Gomez helped them through 37 saves several years ago. And I think Suarez would do just fine over the course of the rest of the season if he is the one getting the ball, if the Phillies can't do anything at the trade deadline.
Yeah, I look at one thing, and I heard Scott Air on the radio this weekend bringing this up, is the Phillies bullpen walks too many guys. That's their biggest problem. Well, Suarez, that's one thing that he is very good. 31 innings, only 8 walks. Is he going to be that power arm striking guys out as a closer? Not necessarily, although 31 innings, he has 29 strikeouts. But to me, the whip is very low. That's a good sign. And to me, I would do what you said. I would keep Suarez in that spot. The other guy I got to ask you about is Bailey Falter. He's pitched 14 innings. He only has 1 walk. He has 16 strikeouts. Does he have a big enough sample size with a .86 whip that you would say he's a guy that I got to start trusting a little bit more?
Right now, I think they have no choice. Falter, I would actually like to see go back into the starting rotation at some point. Now, the Phillies are going to need more starters. Now, Matt Moore is back. Spencer Howard, he did pitch in Trenton, with the Iron Pigs on Saturday night. He pitched 5 innings. I think he struck out 5, didn't allow any runs. But you don't know what Spencer Howard's going to be. Chase Anderson also is rehabbing with the Iron Pigs and just out Trenton as well. But I think that Bailey Falter might be the better starting pitcher option if they're going to need a starter. And there are going to be some doubleheaders down the stretch, like on Saturday the 16th. I think, or Friday the 16th. That's the first Friday after the All-Star break. They're going to need an extra starter pretty much immediately after the break. So I think that's a better spot for him personally. But I think for right now, you kind of need him as that long man who can give you multiple innings. they really don't have anybody else that can do that you trust. And so I think that we've seen a couple times Falter has sort of bridged the gap between an underwhelming starting performance and the back end of the bullpen. So he seems pretty flexible. I think for now you want to try to keep him in that role because he makes games that might get out of hand and might get out of reach. It keeps them in reach. So I think that's good. I don't know about putting him too far in the back end just yet. Might he fill in once or twice if guys aren't available because they worked a lot the previous couple days? But I think there's still a shot that he becomes a starter on this team.
The other guy, I guess, would be Brogdon. I mean, I know last year he got off to a bad start. They had to send him down. But when they brought him back up, he was way better in the second half of the season. And you wonder if now's the time that you start to give Brogdon a little bit more of a more important role.
I think right now, Bradley is still probably for now going to be the guy that gets that right-handed back-end role. But I think the second option there would be Brogdon at this point. Yesterday when they were trying to hold on to that game and keep the game close, they went to Brogdon and he gave them 2 really good innings. But I think he's somebody who will eventually find himself sort of in that 8th inning right-handed role. Ideally you have somebody at the back end that can pitch the 8th, that can throw from the right side or from the left side. I think as he's getting more experience, he's been getting better. So as you said, second half last year he was much better. Still kind of a young rookie to start this year, but you can see him really settling into the role. He's not going to be perfect, but I think in the long term he does have a future in the back end of a bullpen, and he could even be a closer someday. But I think the Phillies don't want to go that route just yet. I think they're going to they'll roll with Suarez first, but it's definitely definitely can be said that he is a big part of this Phillies bullpen right now, and the fact that he's a homegrown guy and young certainly bodes well for his future and the future of the Phillies bullpen.
All right, a lot of people want to know, but Laura's the one who had her question highlighted by you in the mailbag, and is it time to simply cut ties with Hector Neris? This one's kind of tough because while the ERA and the saves, and the ERA just went up over this weekend, he still has been your most consistent guy. So do you just say, look, it's time to cut ties, you just move on, or is it not? Are you not ready to go that far yet?
A couple of things that really stuck out about Hector Neris that at least in the last couple of weeks. Well, he seemed to be really bad the other night. It sounded like, or it looked like he got that third strike. That would have been a quick, clean inning, and it ended up blowing up. He didn't get that third strike, and it seemed to rattle him, and then he was all over the place. And also, an appearance before that, I didn't particularly care for him shaking off JT Realmuto a whole ton. Now, could be because he's not feeling the same. He's not feeling like his pitches are working, meaning he's lost a lot of confidence, perhaps. But we see this with relievers a lot. They have down years. They have up years. They have down years. And certainly in 2018, Neris had a down year. And he did come back very nicely in 2019. And even though he had maybe Dominguez and Robertson, ahead of him in that Phillies bullpen. Now they both got hurt, but he really did reclaim that closer's role and never looked back. So it could be something about his confidence right now. It could be something about the fact that relievers have those up and down years. The difference right now is that he is set to be a free agent after this year. So I think you're going to get to the point where if you think that he's not going to settle back in for 2021, I think he does have value in a trade. If you're acquiring other assets, maybe he can be an asset to trade to somebody else. But I don't know if you would normally just give up on a guy, but if he's close to the end of his Phillies tenure, which he probably is, and you have other options and are working, maybe you go with the hot hand. I would not simply release Hector Neris. I know I've heard some people call for that. I think that would be extreme, but if he can be of value to you in a deal and you're getting other people back in separate deals, well, maybe you consider that. Or if the Phillies drop out of the race and somebody is interested in him. I think he does have some value, and I think other teams would be interested in him if he became available in trade. So this is one, though, that they're going to really have to walk a tightrope as you go forward. But since he should be a free agent soon, if you can trade him while he's sort of down in your bullpen and maybe he does figure it out for somebody else, but you don't have a lot of patience when you're talking 2 months left at this trade deadline.
He's a tough one because, as the closer, look, he's not a great closer. Look, I think we can all agree on that. He's probably still one of the better options that this team has, even though he frustrates you because he blows a lot of games. But quite frankly, that position in baseball now is one of frustration. There are not a lot of elite closers out there. That said, if he's not the closer, it's almost as if the other roles for him, he just falls off completely. It almost feels like his best role is as the closer, and if he's not going to close, he's not really more a serviceable bullpen guy.
Yeah, the other night when he came in, certainly down 5-1, I believe it was. It seemed like the right time to get him back into a game. Where you thought, okay, well, pitch to your strengths, get those few outs, and then keep us just in case we can get 4 runs in the bottom of the ninth. And then it got way out of hand. So the hard part right now is if he's not excelling in those situations and not getting his confidence back in those situations, then I don't know when you're going to get it back. And as I think I heard Ricky Vitaligo talking about the post game, Neris just seemed to want to get out of there. And then finally, of course, I think that was Andrew Knapp's knuckleball that got the last out of that inning, which he could just not find.
Frank Klose, let me ask you, they beat the Padres 2 out of 3. They had a big night last night. Anything encouraging that you can take from the weekend series and what we saw last night to make you feel like, hey, look, they could be turning the corner?
I think a lot of this is in the Phillies players' head right now. We talked last week about how they didn't really have a winner yet, and I feel like that they just haven't learned how to win. and just getting Didi Gregorius back into that lineup and having the full lineup, I think that's sort of given them a new sense of confidence that they didn't have before. And if that's something that they can carry, I certainly think that they can pick up and move. Now the hard part would be is if somebody else has an injury, are they going to feel like, oh no, we can't do this? But certainly beating the Padres 2 out of 3, even though Sunday's loss wasn't a fun loss. A good start against the Cubs. We'll see if they can feast against Jake Arrieta tonight, who has been terrible his last 5 starts for the Cubs. I think this will go a long way. And I saw something online where somebody said that the Phillies had one of the, I think it was the toughest schedule in the first half of the season, and now they're in the second half. They have maybe the second easiest schedule according to win percentages. So who knows if they get a combination of confidence and the fact that they're facing less challenging opponents. Maybe they can go on a little bit of a run here. And if you looked at the comments from the players yesterday, they seem to think that this is their opportunity to show the front office that they can be winners, and that the front office should add at the trade deadline rather than subtract. So it's nice to see the whole lineup together. They seem to have that confidence back, and I can see them going on a nice little run now. Boston's going to be hard over the weekend, but at least for now, I think this Cubs team, which has lost 10 in a row and is floundering, if the Phillies can come in and really just kind of continue knocking the Cubs to the ground, I think that confidence will perhaps carry them forward.
Frank Klose is in Chicago. Phillies and Cubs, as he mentioned, Arrieta will get the ball tonight for Chicago. He has got off to a good start. He has kind of struggled recently, and the Phils for the rest of this series, of course, as he mentioned, the Cubs have lost 10 in a row. They're going to try to continue keeping the Cubs on that long losing streak. Phillies will go with Nola tonight, Wheeler tomorrow, and Eflin. So, with the Phillies' top 3 pitchers close out a 4-game sweep in Chicago, we'll find out. Frank, enjoy the rest of Chicago, man.
Thanks a lot. Catch you soon.